Hi, I'm Mario Guerra, the two-time former mayor of the great city of Downey. And you're listening to Talking Downey with Mayor Mario Guerra. Good morning, folks. So on this beautiful Wednesday, the show will air on Friday. Last night, the city of Downey had a council meeting. So I got home from a board meeting with a credit union, and by the way, our sponsor, financial partners, credit union, want to always thank them. The show wouldn't be possible without them. They do some amazing things in our city. Over 80,000 members. It was founded here 80 years ago. I love everything they do and they stand for. So last night's council meeting, came home at 11 o'clock, and I stayed up and listened to it. So I stayed up a little bit late. It's interesting. I always feel for the council members and our staff that have to put up with a lot of stuff on there. Last night's meeting wasn't as bad as the ones before. A couple things that stood out. First of all, I want to congratulate Major Promotable Victor Shin for receiving the Military Appreciation Award on behalf of all military men and women. Major Promotable, we call him that. He's going to be a lieutenant colonel. So until he gets sworn in, it's called Major Promotable. That means he's going to be a lieutenant colonel. But he's a great man. He heads our sword unit here in Southern California, and I worked with him very closely. But he received an award, and I thought that was very deserving. Stay tuned for the June 11th meeting when we celebrate the Army's birthday. We're going to have a couple Downey High School students that have enrolled in the United States Army. I, in my position as civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army, will be swearing him in. We'll have the Army's birthday, 249th birthday of the United States Army. So you're more than welcome to come to the council meeting on June the 11th. So last night, most of the council members had different events that they discussed. Three of them, Councilmember Horacio Ortiz, Councilwoman Dorothy Pemberton, and Mayor Pro Tem Hector Sosa discussed how they were there at the Memorial Day event this Monday a couple of days ago. I chair the Downey Cemetery Board, so we put on this event every year, Memorial Day at the Downey Cemetery. It was great. We had one of our distinguished firemen, one of our police officers that are veterans, and they spoke from the heart. I was able to speak in my capacity as civilian aide to the secretary, and then we laid a wreath. And it's always a touching tribute to those who have fallen and given so much for us. So thank them for coming. And it was a great event, but it's put on by the Downey Cemetery District on there. I was a little bit, I'm kidding. I was a little perturbed. None of them even mentioned that. Anyways. So a couple other things that happened last night. There was a discussion of the property ordinance, a vacant property ordinance. I was in the council in 2008. This was a staff report that came up last night. Councilmember Horacio Ortiz had brought up to have that discussion. And 2008, we were having a problem. Remember, that was the Great Recession, and that was when all the foreclosed homes and the empty lots and unfinished properties and so forth. So we did put an ordinance in that you had to register that property, but it was in foreclosure. So it had to be from a bank, and it was set up for a bank, and that kind of stayed on the books all this time. So it's been on there. So now we've always had regulations against code enforcement regarding 3 feet high weeds, broken glass, things like that. They were just in different parts. So last night they discussed it and they gave the staff some direction. A couple of things I have an issue with. I think they're just setting up a new bureaucracy. It's going to cost $3,353 per lot for staff time to organize this, and they're going to have to require a plan from the people having that vacant lot or so forth. Then they're going to have to pay $1,000 a year to keep it registered. And the only thing it really does is it just puts it from the ordinance over here on code enforcement that you can't have your grass 3 feet on the one over here that's, against public safety because you have trash on there and so forth. They're going to put it in one place, which makes sense, although it's already an ordinance, it's already law now, but you're setting up more bureaucracy. And, if I understand the foreclosed properties, but if you have a lot that's sitting there or you have a vacant house because you can't sell it, it just adds more burden and other government regulations. So they gave the staff some direction. I wouldn't have gone that far to do that. It's going to cost city staff. It's going to cost time. And you're going to make it less business friendly. So I'm not sure I would have done that, but that's okay. They did pass, there's an alley in downtown Downey that they did pass to allow it to have a mural, and they're going to beautify it at the tune of $15,000. They had that money left over from the parking lot painting, so they will be able to beautify that alley. In downtown Downey, I want us to be like Lompoc. I know, that sounds like Lompoc. What are you talking about? Lompoc is known as the downtown of murals. And when you go there, people drive 20 miles out of their way to go see some of these murals. So for us, we obviously have the beautiful Doodalicious out here in front that was done by Don Lampkin, the artist. But we have 3 or 4 places that we can enhance that. Besides the arch welcoming sign on there, we can have this throughout our downtown. And I think we can make something pretty special with public art and get some local artists to do it and so forth. Anyways, the city did allow that to happen on that small little alleyway there. So that was good news for the downtown. In public comments, the people that are still pushing for the ceasefire in Gaza, which isn't going to happen, a resolution from the city of Downey, I think Mayor Trujillo had some good words of wisdom at the beginning. He apologized for his reaction he apologized to one particular lady at the last meeting when it really got out of hand. And I think the folks that were there for the resolution, the pro-Gaza resolution, got a little bit out of hand. I think everybody was on edge. They just got done with a 3-hour public hearing on housing that had nothing to do with this. So I think a lot of tempers flared. And the mayor did apologize for that because people were insulting him and insulting the council and so forth. So I think he set the tone really well for public comment. And I think the people still did what they had to do and said what they had to do, but they said it in a nicer way and everybody was respectful and so forth. The one thing that the mayor really said too, that it takes somebody from the council to make a motion that they want to discuss something to vote on. Somebody on the council has to second it, okay? And then it can be brought back. So that way the city staff knows there's some interest or not. We never used to have that. This kind of rule passed when Councilwoman Catherine Alvarez came in because she thought she was the ruler and she would tell staff, I want this and I want this report and I want that report. And what happened, it was wasting a lot of staff time. So without the possibility of ever passing, because nobody on the council agreed with her. So they basically had to have a second, if you will, that means there's some reasonableness of it passing the council. So Mayor Trujillo explained that there's, somebody has to bring it up and somebody has to second it. And so far, nobody has brought it up and obviously nobody has seconded it. And what he's talking about is a ceasefire resolution. We've talked about this before, and the atrocities that are happening throughout the world, and there when you see, young people or kids getting killed and so forth, they're terrible, absolutely terrible. Downey, the city of Downey, a local municipality passing a resolution like that does absolutely nothing. I mean, your heart, you pray for peace on there, and you physically and literally pray for peace. But that doesn't do anything. And I totally agree with all 5 council members. This is not the time or the place to do that. We can agree that should happen, but we don't work on a national scale or especially on an international scale. So I don't begrudge the city council. I think they're doing right. I think other cities that are doing that are doing a little bit of grandstanding. But anyways. So that was the public comment. I think you had several people that still, ceasefire people. You had some people from that church group that were insulted at the comments from Mayor Trujillo regarding the pride flag and the neutral flag policy that they asked the council to pass, and some of the comments that were made last meeting. So everything else pretty normal though. No yelling, no shouting. So it was nice to have a calmer meeting. What else happened? Oh, this is kind of big news for discussion. Councilwoman Claudia Fermena brought up, and it was seconded, to have a discussion at a council meeting fairly quickly about term limits, whether term limits should be back on the ballot come this November. And the timing was interesting and so forth. I didn't know that she was going to, not that she would have shared that with me. I originally put the term limits revision on the ballot in 2008. And it got defeated for different reasons. But, have a discussion whether it should be. Here's what I think. The city of Downey should have a method after sitting out a term for a council member or former mayor to come back. And I'm not talking about me. I will not be running for office, even if something like this passes. But, when you have people like former Mayor Kartosian, Roger Brosmer, Alex Saab, and even when you had Meredith Perkins and Dave Gaffin were alive, those people can never ever run, but yet a Catherine Alvarez can come in and move into the city in 30 days and run for office. That doesn't seem right for the residents. I understand the power of the incumbency. When you're in office, you have name recognition, you're attending events. You should be attending events or should be having name recognition. So you have a lead up. But I think a logical balance there could be like some cities do, like Cerritos does, that you serve 2 terms, then you have to sit out an entire term, and then you can run again, because that takes away the power of the incumbency. If residents still want you after you've been out of office for 4 years, then you deserve to be on the council. So that's kind of what my thoughts are on it. We never had a term limits problem. We had 3 people in the history of our city that ever served a 3rd term. This is before we had term limits. And term limits in Downey kind of came in with the whole, when Willie Brown, Assembly Speaker Willie Brown, when the whole state got tired of him being the leader for so many years. And then they passed that, and I always call that we were on the coattails of the Willie Brown era. So it was just never an issue. Nobody in the city ever ran for a 4th term. I see that in other councils and other cities, and sometimes you do need new blood. But we had 3 people only served 3 terms ever. When we put it in there, the mistake was that, and I didn't think about it, our city manager, Jerry Caton, was the one that pushed me to do that because he was looking for a more stable stable council. Looking back, it was wrong that he put me in there. He thought it'd be a really easy thing. But there was a couple of people on the council at that time that certain residents didn't like and stuff, and then it became a referendum on them versus the whole point and the ideology of it, if you will. So we put it on the ballot, and it was to serve 3 terms, then you'd have to serve out 4, and then you could run again. So I'll just remember the people that were just nuts about this. So you mean you can serve, I remember at a town hall meeting, you can serve 12 years, sit out 4, and then come back for another 12. Well, yeah, technically you could. So you can run 24 out of 28 years. Like, okay, technically, I guess you could if the residents are voting you in. Oh my gosh, can you imagine serving 24 years? Well, the fact that it never happened before term limits, the fact that it was just not logical or reasonable on there, didn't matter to these people. But anyways, that was the big push on it. So I don't know how they're going to do it and what they're going to discuss it. But if they did, 2 terms, 2 4-year terms, sit out 1 4-year term, and then run in only one more time of 2 years of 2 terms, could be reasonable compromise on there. It always comes across as self-serving when the council brings it up. So we'll see what happens or how the thought process. To let you know, they were very organized. We didn't do anything to really promote it, if you will, the term limits, because we thought, okay, let's just see what the people do. And, there's no opposition. Well, it turns out there are some people from, at that time, were the Rose Float Association and a couple other associations that didn't like a particular council member that had beaten their candidate. So they made the referendum about him and doing this and not allowing this person to get back in. So it got defeated. It was a good defeat. Like, I don't know, it was 60-something% against or something like that. So it has tried, but that was 2008. So it's been 18 years. So we'll see what happens. Then the discussion came up, should we be looking at our charter and revising our charter? And, when I heard that last night, there's a couple of things that need revision in there, but I don't know, man. That's a slippery slope when you start talking about changing the charter. And then you open up a can of worms. Something really big in our charter, okay? It takes 2/3 of the residents of the city of Downey before we would consider contracting out our police and our fire. Okay, that's what our fire department, our fire union a couple years ago wanted to change because they want to go county because there's more benefits in their mind and so forth. So, but we have that. We have that in our charter. So that can never happen the way it is now. When you open up revisions in the charter and that becomes an open game, things happen. So I'd be really, really nervous about changing or amending our charter. I understand the term limits is a vote, and that's a specific thing. So it's a little bit different than changing our charter, even if some things in our charter are just to correct things and so forth. But you have to then take it to the people. So when you vote, you have to take it to the people. But then you have amendments that could happen. So as long as we protect the integrity of our charter. By the way, there's a big difference between a general law city and our charter city. A charter is kind of like our Constitution. We can do certain things with a charter that a general law city is governed by the state of California that can't do. So it's a good thing that we're a charter city, but we need to treat it and respect it on there. So anyways, be careful talking about our charter. Be careful about the public safety. We've made it very clear when we put that up for vote, or when the fire union put it up for vote, I believe it was 82% of the residents says, no, we don't want to change that. We want to keep our public safety and keep the charter at 2/3. So anyways, that's a discussion. So term limits, it'll be exciting. It'll be interesting to have that discussion. And this year, there's going to be a lot of things. I think there might be a utility tax coming on the ballot. One thing that hopefully the city does do, and I am for it only because of this. I'm going to tip my hand here. So right now, we're allowed another 0.25% sales tax. Okay, I am not a taxing person. I do not like taxes, especially sales tax on there hurts a lot of different people, just like our gasoline tax that people that can't afford it have to pay it even along with people that can. But the county of Los Angeles is going to come into the city of Downey and take that 0.25% sales tax. They are. I mean, it's already been very clear they're going to. So because of that, I hope we do put it on the ballot that at least that money will stay here. Okay, it's going to come across people and like, oh my gosh, look at the city of Downey wants to tax us more in sales tax. That's not the case. It's going to be take it or lose it. Okay, so I hope that they do put that on there, and they can use it for a lot of things. They can put public safety. They can use it for roads. They can use it to keep going on the parks. They can use it for the Columbia. They can use it for downtown. I mean, all kinds of different things. It would go in the general fund or whatever it's designated. But if that happens to go on the ballot, please remember that, okay? It's that 0.25% sales tax that the county will take away from us. So you might have a hotel tax, which I can't believe it didn't pass last time. We're way below the market, and we have several hotels, especially nice ones. My last year on the council, we did a review about hotels, and the city of Downey could use another hotel. Our hotel occupancy is very high. I'm talking about Embassy Suites. Now we have the Spring Suites. So we have some nice hotels, and the thought was always at the promenade in the back to build another hotel. Hotel occupancy tax is important. We have one of the lowest percentages in the area, and definitely in Southern California. So last year when I went on there to increase that, this is for other people that are paying it. You and I go to a resort, man, we pay $40 a night for, hotel taxes and whatever, or even more. So this is a small percentage. I believe ours is under 5, and they would have made it 7 or 8, whatever. But again, this is people that are coming into our city. I don't want to gouge. I don't want to gouge people. But it's a fairness issue too, because they are using our city services. So hopefully that will be on the ballot. Hopefully you and I, as Downey residents, I would vote for that. I would vote for the sales tax thing. If that came before the voters, then you could possibly have term limits discussion. You also have 3 council races. Last week, Mayor Trujillo announced his reelection and put his plans. I do believe that Councilwoman Dorothy Pemberton, this is her first year finishing out that recall, if you will, from Catherine Alvarez. I think she'll be running. And Councilman Horacio Ortiz, I think, will also be running. So you got 3 people running. It's a presidential year. There's a Senate race. There's going to be 10 or 15 ballot propositions. It's going to be exciting. We at the Talking Downey will make several shows about not only the candidates, but also the propositions. The propositions, all I beg is everybody to please read it. Please think it through. Don't get suckered by television ads that tainted or mislead or flat out lie about what the propositions do. We've been fooled so many times that we're spending money needlessly that is not going to the intended use. So anyways, okay, got off my high horse now. So thank you to the Downey City Council. They did a nice job last night. And I appreciate everything they're doing under difficult circumstances. And it seems they're working together, at least amicably, so that's a good thing. I think our staff is awesome. Our city manager, Roger Bradley, our city attorney, Irma from the community development. She runs that department. She made a real good presentation on the vacant property ordinance. I may not agree with it. I just don't think we should be adding another $1,000 fee per year on somebody that's already, for an issue. I think they should be working with the city. So anyways, thank you, folks. I think that's about it. If you have comments on this, give me a call. 562-706-4114, 562-706-4114. I wonder, what do you think about term limits? What do you think about some of the things I just mentioned today? What would you like us to talk in the future? Next week, we're going to have a conversation show that we had with George Villa. He's the DDIA, Downtown Downey Improvement Association president. He's also Porto's right hand, and we had him here. We talked about a little bit of things about Porto's Bakery and how they came about to Downey in 2009. Our condolences to the Porto's family. Most of you by this time have heard Raul Porto Sr., the patriarch of the family bakeries on there, passed away last week at age 92. So our prayers have been with them, and I texted both Raul Jr. and Betty and their dear friends, and offering my condolences to them and the whole family. So they responded back too. Okay, thanks for watching, and thanks for our sponsor. We appreciate you, Financial Partners Credit Union. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Talking Downey with Mayor Mario Guerra.